Chairwoman Velasquez, Ranking Member Chabot, and members of the committee, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss increasing diversity within our patent and commercialization system. I'm honored to be here with you today. My name is Janeya Griffin, the Commercializer. I'm an advocate for intellectual property. The first time that I truly learned about the value of patents was not in grade school or even college, not in history books that were part of any Common Core curriculum that I was taught. It was only after college, when I met professors who had patents, who looked like me, did I believe that it was possible to obtain one. Before becoming an advocate for IP, I was a STEM graduate from Grambling State University. The dean of my college recognized the entrepreneur in me and encouraged me to apply for a fellowship program called the Integrated Technology Transfer Network. Funded by the Department of Navy through earmarks, it took STEM students from HBCUs and taught us the business side of things so we could speak and understand the technical language, then translate that into a value proposition that business people could understand. Unfortunately, that program was defunded in 2011. By receiving certification in entrepreneurial technology commercialization, I was able to learn the true value and functionality of IP and work on tech transfer projects from several federal labs, where I evaluated patents to determine their commercial potential. Today, I manage and sell NASA's IP. Having said that, I am a Black woman with a very unique skill set and only have the knowledge about the patent commercialization system because I went through a very specialized program that targeted STEM students from HBCUs. This program has created inventors, small business owners, and even directors of SBA-funded programs. The advocacy work I do for innovators of color allows me to speak to what I see may be the issues that the country's patent and commercialization process is facing. My story about patents is not unique. I have surveyed my colleagues, clients, and professionals within this space, and the sentiments are mostly the same. Many of them, even those who are patent attorneys, only learned about the value of IP when they reached grad school or as they were assigning their ownership rights to their IP over to their soon-to-be employer. Research shows Black inventors receive 6 patents per million people compared to 235 of their white counterparts. So if you combine 13 of the nation's NFL stadiums, only 6 of those seats were for Black people. It is clear that even with the invention of the internet, there are still huge exposure gaps in education when it comes to people of color seeing the contributions of people that look like them in the history books we are learning from. We should be highlighting and elevating inventors such as Marion Croak, a Black woman with almost 200 patents, who has a proven track record of success in this field to serve as a nationwide ambassador for patent attainment. The diversity gap in patents is not just an inclusion issue. It's also an exposure to generational wealth through patent commercialization and access issue. And if exposure to generational wealth can be passed down through generations, then so can exposure to generational trauma. Before we begin to think we can solve the diversity gap, we must first understand how it came to be. For decades, our country's laws have placed minorities in positions where they have had to choose their life over their IP, even at one point being considered property themselves. Economist Dr. Lisa Cooks discusses the correlation of declining minority patents during the Jim Crow and race riot era, having lost over 1,000 patents. More than 100 years prior, in 1710, the same holds true. The Meritorious Manumission Act of Virginia gave slave owners the rights to grant their slaves freedom in exchange for their inventions. Hence, the systemic issues faced by minorities in the patent commercialization systems for decades has not only created the diversity gap, but has continued to sustain it. How can we expect to increase diversity in patenting and commercialization if historically the system has not been built for minorities to participate or succeed in general? Only collecting vanity metrics such as demographics of the inventor is not going to close the diversity gap. In fact, we should be asking how many of those 6 patents per million people are actually small business owners, as ownership of a patent by a small business generates 16 new jobs. That's 16 more opportunities for minorities and returning citizens. The success of this great nation is not only dependent on our ability to invest in proven programs, pathways, and institutions which make room for a greater number of inventors, but also on how we tell the true story of the contributions of women and minorities in almost every sector of the American economy. Why not fund more certificate programs like the one I went through? If we are truly focused on increasing the diversity of patents, we must invest in education, access, and equity at the highest level in the most marginalized communities, which will ensure this great nation retains its economic vitality. My name is Janeya Griffin, an HBCU graduate, IP advocate, and a proud Black woman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Wade.